Okay. Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me in this 1 hour little talk. And give me patience with like 1 minute that everyone who planned to join can drop in. And then we will kick it off. And even in the meantime, I can show you actually the litter and introduce you to Inaya. Introduce you to Inaya and the puppies. Okay, that was not the most brilliant cameraman move on my part. So, welcome again. My plan is to keep you busy for 50 to 60 minutes, the latest until 9 p.m. Central Eastern Time. And I would like to talk about several topics. One was about my my expedition trip to Sahel, Africa, Niger 2 years ago. And I would like to start with the reason why I went there. I would like to share some experiences and moments there, and then would like to talk about my specific two country of origin import, Azawakh, my female Inaya, and my male Manaji. And depending on how interest is, I like to share some thoughts about the breed in general, how I experience them. So, why does someone go to Niger and import Azawaks? Actually, I got to know the breed in 1999 when I was an exchange student in Germany and was seeing the Windhunde magazine. And that's when I got to know first the Azawak breed. And on and off, I had been following European breeders' websites. And actually, I came to appreciate and to know the concept and the aim why some very dedicated breeders do go to the country of origins and have been importing Azawaks in the past. And in one sentence, the reason is that the breed as a whole, its genetic makeup had been narrowed down. Actually, it had been the breeding had started off with very few specimens, and even those were relatives, and then they continued for a prolonged time to breed with that, and that as a consequence, some dogs showed some neurological damage like epilepsy and other symptoms, and some dedicated breeders decades ago actually realized that they had to step up in order to save the breed. And that's what that concept of narrative is that I have also embraced. And I come from Hungary, and we have also a national sighthound called Magyar Agár, Hungarian sighthound, and I owned one for 9.5 years. And this concept is not foreign to me. It's very familiar that the FCI population and the so-called real or original dogs or hounds that can be found in the countryside who actually even get used for hunting. Actually, they are they are not always matching with their population, and there has been also an aim to incorporate new blood. So this concept wasn't new for me, and I quickly realized that I want to contribute to the breed as well. And I had made a decision to join Corinne Lundquist, a French Azawakh Breeders Initiative. She is the owner of the kennel Garde Épée in France near Bordeaux, and I had been following her breeding work and actually followed her Flickr album that is also being made available here by her graciously, and I have posted it in this event. And by the way, the way I intend this talk is that I invite you to click on the events discussion board and click on the photo albums that I have been posting, because I had made an album, and I invite you to look, and parallelly I will talk and share. So maybe technically you can do that by opening another tab and going there in this particular event, and hopefully it will work out. So yeah, and Corin Lundquist had invited me to join them 2 years ago, and it was a small but dedicated team. And I soon realized that I also wanted to import one dog, and then it eventually turned out to be two dogs, a male and a female. So, okay, then about the trip itself. So this has been a 2-week trip, and even as a precaution to enter Niger, it's obligatory to have the vaccination against yellow fever, but it is also recommended to get shots against like 10 or 12 other diseases. So I had made that, and during 3 months prior to the trip, actually, and even during the trip, we took pills against malaria on a daily basis, which made me personally a little bit nauseous, but I should never experience anything worse in my life than that. It was quite all right. And so it was my first experience in the whole continent, much less to say in the country of Niger. And actually, since then I had been interviewed with a radio host, and the radio host was trying to promote Niger as a touristic destination. And I was happy to share my first-hand experiences, but even 2 years ago, it was kind of a, not so sure that's where you want to take your kids for a family vacation, although it is a magical place. It is, but now things have turned for the worse, actually, and which we never had foreseen 2 years ago. That actually this year, August, maybe you have even seen the news. This year, August, a terrorist attack had taken place in the giraffe reservoir, where we also had been taking pictures of the giraffes, and 8 French people were murdered. And since then, in August, the French government decided to block the whole country of Niger and designate it as a red zone, which means it's not recommended for traveling at all, except the capital, Niamey. And actually, another quite tragic event took place this year, February. So, like half a year earlier, a very good friend of Corinne's, Ayad, who is a decade-long, who had been a decade-long Azawakh breeder, Nigerian man in Niger, had been actually also murdered by a terrorist group, which was a huge loss for the whole Azawakh community, obviously for his family first and foremost. So this particular year, 2 tragic incidents had been marking this whole region, and I don't know about the future, but it's not impossible that the possibility to visit Niger is blocked for the near future. I don't know actually about that, but I would personally fear for my life to go there at this particular moment. Not needless to say about the whole pandemic situation to make it even worse. But anyway, 2 years ago, these things were not on the horizon yet, and it was a magical trip. And it was a culture shock for me to meet the people. Actually, the Tuareg tribe are the nomadic tribe who actually breed camels and cattle. and they were one of the tribes who are owning the breed of the Azawakh, who is called by them Oscar or Idininelli, noble hound, and the other tribes are the Pearl and the Hossa, and they are not nomadic, but they are using agriculture. And so we had been using jeeps, and we were traveling with the jeep. And after a certain uh, city or village, I think it was Abalak. After Abalak, we were obliged to hire militia to protect us. So that was a kind of a surreal sight to have another jeep packed with half a dozen of armed soldiers and with a huge weapon on their jeep, and but they were protecting us, and eventually we were feeling safe. I felt safe. And yeah, for two weeks, the first couple of days and the last couple of days we had spent in hotels, but in the meantime we were on the roads. I think we were covering like 800 kilometers each way, going in northeast, I believe, into the land. And we had been visiting villages, and we had been visiting Corinne's old acquaintances and, dare I say, friends whom she made in the past years and her past expeditions. And it was a very, very sweet and touching moment to experience these people and obviously their dogs. So the Azawakh there is a land race, which means that it's pretty much one type of a landrace dog, but obviously not with that breeding standards that we in the West have embraced or made ourselves. But within that landrace type, we have seen heterogeneous uh, features, but still it was all the same type. So I have not seen one single other kind of breed of dog. And within that range, there were obviously some more refined ones and some less refined ones. We have seen plenty of black Azawaks. Um, we have seen all shades of red and also actually brindles and everything other as well, like dogs with a saddle or dogs with a lot of white or majority white and some patches. So all of that is around, and those are all beautiful dogs. And yeah, so and one of the radio hosts' other question was like, how did we actually exchange puppies, or how did we get them? And by the way, I'm just making a short pause here and want to say that here in the comment section, for me, it's on the left field. You can please type in your questions and I try my best to answer them. Actually, I plan to talk for another like 20 minutes and then I would like to give over for Q&A. And that's how I plan it. Yeah, so back to how we got the puppies. So we were bringing with ourselves gifts, a whole suitcase full of gifts like clothing, like everyday practical objects that seemed useful and valuable. But admittedly, for Western standards, these were like not, very valuable things, but still, they were things that those people could actually need. And as a gesture of a gift, we exchanged gifts and actually got puppies like that. Sometimes we were not even in that position or situation because we just, for example, my particular female, Inaya, whom you just have seen, we have found her in a den next to a village house, but the woman who we were talking to this didn't really seem to be the owner or anything acquainted with the dog. But as I recall, she just said that there's a den with some puppies in there. we better take a look because they haven't seen the mother dog for uh, for 1 or 2 days. And we actually grabbed in that hole and took out two gorgeous, very young female puppies. And then and there, we had to decide, like, what do we want to do? Do we want to leave them to their destiny, or do we take them with us? And eventually, that's what we did. And Inaya ended up with me, and eventually the other San one went to the US. And yeah, so that's how these things were. And actually, one of the observation was, which was in line with the documentary available on YouTube, which I have also shared, Dr. Wolf's Hundewelten. This is in '96. This was actually shot by an expedition group in '96, who were mostly Germans back at the time. And it's also in line with my experience that majority of the puppies were males. Actually, that wasn't nature's twist. That's basically human intervention. That several only several puppies are allowed to stay alive, and others are called. And usually, it's the males who were being kept. Only a few of them. So it was a precious time, precious moment that we have found actually two female puppies. Yeah, and maybe I want to share the most touching moment for me was uh was a very, yeah, I actually carry with that's a scene with me even since then, which was we ended up in Dundai, which was a village with a lot of kids, like over 100 kids who were exhilarated, excited to see us, and they were following us literally everywhere. And yeah, we were like very foreign to them, and I believe that there was a small girl who had never seen before white people before that, and so we were quite special for them. And I remember a scene where like 100 kids were around, and were filled with adrenaline and just curiosity, and they were, also afraid of us, but they were so curious to approach. But then when we were like making sudden moves, all of the group of the kids moved as one pack, dare I say. So it wasn't just like the nearer or the kids in the proximity were moving, but the whole group of kids, like 100 kids, uh, as if they would have a group spirit. And I believe that they do. Actually, this is a very special, very communal way of living, I believe. And but just experiencing that atmosphere was very, very special and very dear to my heart. And yeah, obviously, it was very humbling for me to experience this way of these people who were, yeah, it's just stereotypes, but it's true that they seemed very happy and very content with their lives, with living next to nothing. And yeah, yeah. So the 2 weeks have quickly passed, and then we came home, and actually, this is how I got to my two dogs, and my male is called Meneji, and he is from Mali. That was also a lucky coincidence on the timing that it was actually a Mali refugee family who had to flee Mali due to political instability. And by the time we were there, they brought their dogs with them, and they had several beautiful male puppies who were very typical, very rich in type. And I was very lucky to get one of the males. And he is actually sitting here behind me, or laying here behind me. So about him, he lives now on three legs, actually for since last year August. There was a terrible accident that he suffered at the weekend house here in Hungary. He was attacked by a boar, which I haven't seen, but it's pretty sure that that's what happened. And and I had to rush him to the vet and get him operated. And luckily, he survived, which was not necessarily guaranteed with his condition. And yeah, and he had to his limb had to be taken down. And but you know, I have seen previously quite a few dogs on three legs, and I was hopeful that dogs can live a full life. But obviously, I mean, it was a tragic loss and a very sad moment for me as well to see him lose his limb, as any dog, but as particular as a beautiful African Azawakh sighthound, especially. Um, I see here a question. Thank you very much, Claudia Egerer. And please feel free to post questions. Did you get any idea how long Azawaks live in the Sahel? Did you see old dogs, and were the dogs reserved, or did any approach you? So three questions. Um, well, we've seen all dogs, but you know, I mean, and you've seen old people, but then again, how old were they? So I'm not sure how old a dog or actually a human has to be to look the way they look there. Um, but yeah, we definitely seen like old dogs who were having scars and they were just laying on the street, looking actually pretty sad. But yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell how old that dog were, but yeah. Uh, but then again, these dogs are not being vaccinated, obviously, and are prone to catch any disease or like parvo or anything else, and they have to fight with the elements to survive. And were they reserved? Partially yes, and partially not. So I think it also depended on the immediate surrounding. If we had approached a very distant village or a very distant camp with nothing around, then obviously there was this bigger circle of intimacy, which where the dog felt evaded, and then they also uh, retreated from us, and we were not coming close, like 30 meters even, and they were barking at us. But then in Dundai, for example, where it was like a big village, which was kind of crowded, there we have seen dogs who had absolutely no problem approaching us and wagging their tails and being the happiest and to see us. So I think it had more to do with the immediate surrounding and the setup. Yeah. But yeah, I'm just thinking what other dog encounters I had on that. But mostly, if the setup was fine, then dogs were absolutely approaching us, and they were very calm and very balanced. Yeah, yeah. Where was I with my train of thought? I'm trying to think. Yeah, so actually, here in Hungary, I could register. Luckily, both dogs under the Kennel Club, they were admitted as Azawaks and they got the breeding license. And I may share a couple of words about mating or my choice. So Inaya is I was looking for a male who would balance out Inaya's features, and uh, and I had been choosing a wonderful, exquisite dog named Jamal Eidin Amanar, bred by Maria and owned by Sylvia and Mateusz Heller. And I visited them in Skokie, even north from Poznan in Poland. We were traveling 900 kilometers both one way by car in August. And I just a funny story that I was preparing because I was studying actually to become a vet, but only for 5 semesters. So I'm not a trained vet, but I just started my studies. I prepared for tools with just a moment. I need to let Menaji out. Yeah, like with dogs. So anyway, so I prepared tools for insemination, and I ended up needing that, going that route. And we were doing a teamwork, and make it a long story short, Inaya proved to be pregnant with 5 fetuses, and then gave birth to 5 puppies, 4 wonderful males and one gorgeous female. But unfortunately, the last male didn't survive. It was born still. So it's 4 puppies. I'm reading another question. Okay, that's not a question. So anyway, and I actually also had made insemination with my African dog, Menaji, when we came home, just to, maximize the chances of paternity. But and actually, even it's next week already that the puppies will get microchipped, and through that they will be eligible to conduct the DNA test, and hopefully already next week or the latest in 10 days we will have some answers on who the father is, or which puppy's father who is. um yeah, and as I'm not exactly sure who is watching this, maybe, I'm pretty sure there are some seasoned Azawakh breeders among my viewers or owners, but I must assume that there are some people who have never heard, or not familiar with the breed. So I will share some short sentences about the breed in general. So the Azawakh stems from the Azawakh Valley, which consists of 3 countries nowadays, in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. And France is the standard giving country. And yeah, what else to say? So, on the personality wise, they are full of contradictions, and they are magically elegant and ethereal, but they seem fragile, but they are the opposite. They're very, very tough dogs who are, due to their history and due to their function, actually can be quite territorial, because that was their job and is their job in the Sahel, as we have firsthand seen, is to protect the camp, or protect the livestock, the camels and the cattle. So they can be quite territorial, and they can be quite cautious around new things. I have owned actually a Rhodesian Ridgeback, also an African breed, and I've seen very much the same or very similar attributes in that sensitivity part. They are actually a semi-domesticated breed. They're very ancient, and part of that means that they exhibit still those primitive traits or behaviors, like what's the word? So it's not just barking, but this husky like yawning, and the other is digging big holes in the garden. Actually, even Inaya, when she was due, uh, her first idea was to dig a big hole in the garden and give birth there. So I had to watch out to not let her do that in these October temperatures. And she still is looking for ways of uh, of doing that. So that's a very interesting fact around them. Yeah, and the other is because they are very independent and they basically could live without human assistance. They are not it's not in their blood to obey like a German Shepherd, and you have to really be tolerant of that, um, free spirit, let's put it that way. But to break it more down on a practical level, I personally struggle every day with calling them in and controlling them, but I came to work around that. And but if somebody's watching this who is interested actually even buying a puppy, that's what you have to prepare for. And and if you uh, expect a dog to uh, obey every word and every look that you do, possibly that's not the right breed for you. Even though I've seen some amazing results with dog trainers working with the Azawakh and excelling in unbelievable fields, which you wouldn't think is suited for such a dog. But still, you know, as a rule, they're not a border collie. Definitely not. So I also want to come to that place where I want to mention if you are watching and are interested in one of the three male puppies, would be available end of January to be picked up here in Budapest, Hungary. This is something that I would expect from a future owner who has that ability or capability and capacity to live with the dog. Obviously, if you already own a Azawakh, that's the best, both for your knowledge and the dog for company. And I see that they thrive best living with a garden, with secure fences, and obviously coming in the house. So living both inside and outside. And the other thing that I personally would expect or hope from a future owner of my puppies is to share my vision of uh, of uh, of giving the full capacity of these half African specimens and managing them the best possible way to uh, to give them a chance to actually pass their genes on as well, which means to show them, which I personally I'm not a big fan of, but to even give them that opportunity and giving them the opportunity to be a sire in the future. And I want to close the door, okay? And I want to show for one moment again the puppies. I think my voice cannot be heard while I'm moving the laptop, so just enjoy the show for a couple of seconds. Yeah, so puppies are not 12 days old, and actually they just started to open their eyes, and so even though I had basically only sleepless nights until so far, but the real work starts now when they again, but when they start to move and see and approach their environment. So it's very exciting, though. It's my first time ever to have puppies, dog puppies. So it's a beautiful journey for me, especially now in the lockdown pandemic. It's the best thing to have when you're stuck at home anyway. So so these dogs will have FCI registration pedigree, and um, yeah, that is about them. Yeah. Do I see questions? It's a weird feeling that I have no idea who is watching or how many people, but please don't hesitate to type in your questions. And I don't know if you had the chance to click on the links on the albums, but definitely do it when you have the chance. I also posted Corinne's album, which is amazing quality pictures, and I encourage you to follow several social media channels on Instagram, Facebook, and I have YouTube videos uploaded even from earlier times. Yeah. So what else can I say? Um, I don't really know. Showing the puppies again. Yeah, just maybe worth mentioning that Managy is actually also, as I said, registered and is available as a sire. Actually, both dogs had been DNA tested by the American company Embark and had been screened on near 200 diseases, and they had been proven genetically being Azawakh. So I made that genetic test, and now I will actually do a paternity test, obviously. How do you plan to socialize your puppies? Excellent question. So I will invite family and friends. Will filtering on Corona, but I will absolutely invite friends to come and for the dogs to for the puppies to experience different kinds of people. I have my adorable nieces coming, tiny humans, and I'm looking forward for them to share that special moment. Yeah, and then I will expose them to several, objects and noises. Um, and well, it's will be pretty chilly in coming weeks, so we won't spend a lot of huge amount of time in the garden, unfortunately. That's the disadvantage of an African breed that their that their season is tempered to that time in the Sahel where the puppies won't die out of the heat. So also it's quite cooler also in the Sahel right now, but obviously not comparable. But that's the and they obviously or not obviously, but they come to season usually once a year. Yeah, so it wasn't really an option for me to not have winter puppies. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, so I will do very various things because it's very crucial, especially for this semi-domesticated breed, to get exposed, get familiar uh, with different things. Yeah, and I'll keep them up until the age of 12 weeks. So that's part of the program. Yeah. So what I was starting to say about Menagy is that he has a breeding license and he is available. Actually, I think he's one of, I am objectively, so I'm not objective, obviously, but I think he's a top quality African country of origin male right now who is available. And it's very tragic and unfortunate that he cannot show his full beauty and elegance on four legs. But I think those who can appreciate the cause and his features can see through that handicap. And I encourage the wider Azawakh community to embrace the idea to utilize him as a sire, primarily for widening the genetic diversity of the breed. It's not um, that I want to get a become millionaire on these dogs. It's obviously anybody who owns these dogs or breeds dogs knows that it's an expensive hobby. It's killing money mostly. Yeah. Okay. What else can I say? I definitely want to honor your time and your openness. So I'm very appreciative of that. But I think that's basically what I wanted to say, and we can still go on questions if you do have some, which I'm very happy to answer. Yeah, other than that, please make sure that you follow their page, Azawakh Melech HaOlam, FCI Kano, and and you can also befriend me on Facebook, but I'll post pictures everywhere, so follow their journey with me. Okay, I don't know what else I can say. Oh, maybe it's worth to mention that I feed them. Their diet is consisted hugely on goat milk right now, and millet, and quality puppy kibble, and other dairy products, eggs, various meats. So basically, it is goat milk and millet, which the dogs in the Sahel experience mostly. And if you recall the album cover picture on my page, it's with those interesting cube globe-shaped structures, and those are actually containers for millet. And that is basically crucial for the people in the Sahel because millet is 99% of what they feed on, and they very much depend on a good harvest. So that's what those structures are. They're containers for millet. Okay. Um, I think I wanna thank you for your attention, and please share your feedback or questions. I'm happy to catch up with you. And other than that, I wish you a pleasant good night. And I show you again the puppies for the last time. Okay. Bye, folks.